Hello and welcome back to another episode of Review Your Death Clips. My name is Syken. I have played quite a bit of World of Warcraft Hardcore. I have leveled every class to level 60, did all of the content including killing KT on both sides. So let's jump right into it and see what kind of death clips we have today. Alright, first death of today comes from Duskwallow Marsh. I don't even know what to say, man. He said I'm an idiot, and I tend to agree because there is so much wrong on this clip. So let's take a look here. Overlord Mokmorok is kind of a follow-up quest, which is an elite quest where you at some point need to face the Overlord and basically fight him. We're looking at a Warlock who is, I would say, level 42-ish, because 41 or 42 Overlord is orange, and is running, I don't even know what kind of build this is. I would assume it is a demonology build, but then again I don't see soul links, so something is awkwardly wrong here. He has all of the typical dots, but he also does have a couple of destro spells, so maybe he's using a destro build, but then you typically wouldn't run Voidwalker. So per start there is something odd. Let's just put it this way: this player might not fully appreciate what goes well with whatever. It's just a mismatch of things. The biggest problem here, and this is how to solve the situation, is number one, if you're solo and you don't know exactly, and I mean underscore exactly, what you're doing, do not touch any form of elite content. Let that sink in. If you are solo and you do not exactly know what you're doing, do not touch any elite content, because typically it is quite hard, and some of the elite content is actually super hard. Secondly, if you know what you're doing, then you shouldn't go and touch elite content that is 3 or 4 levels above your own level, because this is, unless it is for a challenge, this is just ludicrously risky for a very, very low effort. If you want to do that sort of content, though, don't just show up with a little bit of an Onyxia buff. If for whatever reason you set your mind on Overlord Mokmorok, then make sure that your Voidwalker is fully buffed. That means Onyxia, Rend, ZG, which I think these guys are playing on fresh, so ZG is not yet out, but you get the point. Stamina buff, Thorns, Mark of the Wild, everything, so that you do have the best chance to go for it. Given that the Overlord is orange, you will still have a lot of RNG to deal with, because this guy will resist 2 out of 3 of your spells on average. If he is playing the Warlock as a class, has a particularly high problem in dealing with higher level enemies, because they don't have spell hit on their tree, and at level 41 there's no hit gear whatsoever, so it's simply not happening. You will likely need to deal with 2 out of 3 resists. So how could he have won against the Overlord? Likely if he's fully buffed, and there is a very, very small chance. I see he's actually Affliction Spec. I can see Siphon Life down here, so he's deep Affliction Spec. I would give him a less than 1% chance, even if he executes like really, really well, to do that. There is no great kiting mechanic here. There is no fence hopping that you could do. It's a pretty plain open territory, and that means you would need to go through him and let your Voidwalker tank. A fully buffed Voidwalker, like fully world buffed Voidwalker, maybe will withstand for 20%. So then you can add, assuming that everything goes well, you're siphoning life, you're draining life, you would constantly need to funnel life into your Voidwalker in order to keep him alive, and maybe Curse of Agony, Corruption, Instacast is the only thing that you can do on top of that. From time to time you would get your Shadowfall proc, which is in this spec a proc where you can instacast a Shadow Bolt, but I don't see how you would mana manage that, even if you use like the greatest mana potion that you do have available. I just don't see how that would work, because the Voidwalker would take too much damage. Which then brings me to the case, what are the alternatives? The alternatives are you're trying to fear the Overlord, but that is not a reliable alternative either, with 2 out of 3 fears being broken. And then the heartbeat for higher level enemies, meaning the early break of CC, would still be a problem. So it's just a bad idea no matter how you slice and dice it. He does have a bit of sticky glue, he does have sleep dust, both of which could work against him. They don't share cooldown, so that's okay. So theoretically, like if you want to go all in, then that would be an option. There are a couple of other things that are wrong. This guy does have no bandages left over, hasn't pre-summoned a Hellstone, although he goes up against like super hard target. And you can see that the second that he starts dotting him, the Voidwalker with his he doesn't even have a taunt. The Voidwalker does have an ability that is a spell, by the way, that they can cast in order to generate threat. Voidwalker has the same problem. Spell will be resisted quite often. So here you can see for a while the Voidwalker tanked him. And is my 80% somewhat accurate? Look, he's at 90% and the Voidwalker is down. So I was even giving him more leeway than you would think. He brought a couple of spells through. The Siphon build for curses does have the option to actually land quite well. They have spell hit on curses, but the rest does not land well. Then he gets support from a hunter, tries to fear, and yeah, the rest is history, because fear is resisted again. At this point, after the first resist, he would have forcefully needed to death coil in the hopes of it not resisting, and other than that, unless he has a target dummy or something else that saves him, it's basically GG. So very much deserved death. Not a huge knowledge gap. The execution wasn't clean either, and that's what you get. Play stupid games, get stupid prizes. Alright, next one is coming from Scholomance. Let's go. Oh no.
Whoa. I think we have to run out. Yep. Everyone run. Targeted. Dropping a dummy. Oh shit. Oh, healings. I'm dead.
I was just about to say we could use a Frost Nova or something.
What in hell's name just happened?
Oh, I can tell you exactly what happened. Someone, I think, griefed you, which is a bit of a problem here. So, Scholomance, let's just go through the clip again. They are in Scholomance, clearly or mostly a guild run from Fangsley, which would mean they are at the new server, Soulseeker, I assume. Anyways, we're in Scholomance. These Scholomance students are all non-aggro but all elite. There is a quest line that allows you to kill all of them by basically turning their true masters, which are on this platform on the right hand side, into their real selves, and that will also de-elite all of these guys and make them into skeletons. Now the problem is, just like with the bar in BRD, the moment that something here happens, as in anybody touches them, these guys are going to aggro. There will be social aggro of nearby packs, and they hit hard. The rogue here runs by. Did he have auto attack beforehand is the question. Okay, so he's not auto attacking, it looks like, am I just tripping or did he cue a kick? It looks like he has pressed button 4, whatever that is, kick button. Yeah, yes, you can see that right here. He has pressed button 4, kick button, then for whatever reason targets the next student, kicks him, and that triggers the entire pack. So how should you deal with that situation? And I'll review it from 2 things. Number 1, obviously, prevent what you should do to prevent that from happening is never ever attack the Scholomance students here, because it's just a death sentence. But let's talk about what the others could have done. Not everybody might have been carrying a Petri. So several of these guys would now be flagged for combat, and therefore that would be a pretty sizable issue. There are 2 things that you can do, even if you don't carry a Petri. So they are going back. He is using Petri. You can see the mage kind of does a disservice to everybody by just novaing. Triggers those 2 packs on top. The perpetrator of that whole thing, the rogue, has petried. Assuming that he petried that late, I can only assume that he didn't mean to do that. The priest enters combat by giving him a shield, which I would never do. It simply would not happen. And with that, they are definitely both on the aggro table. In minimum, those 2. The warriors, I don't know yet. You can't see it. You can just see the threat. Dixonage and He-Links are both on the threat table. The mage is backpedaling here, which should never be the case. They should only try to run at that point. And the problem is his Nova didn't really hit everybody, which in return will mean that these guys have a problem. As those students are going to catch up. So what's the obvious play here? Everybody should Petri and Alt F4. This guy here hasn't understood the Petri mechanic. I'll explain it really quickly. You either leave group beforehand, and then once the you're being teleported sign is being shown, then you can Petri and just wait it out. The other alternative, which most of the time is the only thing that you can do, is you Petri and then Alt F4 in the first 5 seconds afterwards, because it can take up to 50 seconds for the game to remove your character from the game world. That's the safest, by far safest bet that you could do. He only carried 1 Petri, assuming due to not having enough money for more than 1, which means unless he is vanishing out of that situation, which he will do because the others have pulled, he himself, by just petring and standing there, would have actually been dead if his friends wouldn't have helped him. So what should the others do? There are a couple of things that you could do at this point. Say, if that happened right here in the middle, the easiest solution, if you're not on the aggro table, is run to the corner of the room and just start camping out. That's 20 seconds and you're gone. I've seen that happen even in raid scenarios where knowledgeable players that haven't entered combat or were very, very, very low on the threat table have just started to camp out and basically left the game based on that. Wait more than 5 minutes and then you're automatically being teleported to the entrance of the instance. I would only do that if I had the Petri as a backup solution. Now let's assume you don't have a Petri. Then the right call here is either swiftness potion into likely nifty stopwatch and then run to the entrance. If that is too far for you and you don't have the consumables, then there is still an option for you, because in this very specific scenario you could go to the right hand side from here, like down here, and you can move into the area, into that room where there is an upper and a lower floor. And if I'd be in that situation, you could simply leave group, and then once you have left group, move into that direction and basically stay at the opposite side upstairs, which would force the enemies to come, move all the way to you, and then you basically shortly before they reached you, you basically jump down and run up and do circles because you abuse the pathing for 1 minute until such time that you're being teleported out of the dungeon. These are the two options that the others could have done. Unfortunate that healings died on this one. Clearly the fault of the rogue, and very, very unfortunate. Alright, last death of today is coming from Feralis. Gummy's playing a shaman.
What the fuck? Oh no.
What the fuck happening?
Yeah, man, I'm sorry. That indeed sucks. So let's shortly look at. I mean, we talked about getting disconnected in the last episode. I won't repeat all of that. Essentially, this is a great example of the login servers being problematic. The chat servers are on a different platform, therefore. He can still see himself basically demising. His friend here is telling him, sorry to see you go, and Gummy is completely unaware. So, I mean, how can you solve that? For starters, so once he is past this point, this whole fast forwarding here, I would like to get into that, and we're slowing it down, because normally I like the editing, but there is a bit of a disservice in that editing. You can see that there is not a single NPC anywhere here, so he's been moving for quite a while even before that happens. Look at this. He's basically coming out here. Stop. He's basically coming out here, and you can see not a single NPC. So this is incorrect. The moment that I would see that, I would close the client. There's still a chance for you to survive. Maybe 1 or 2 Iron Fur Patriarchs. He's running with a shield. That's good. I would always ride with a shield if I am a class that can wear a shield. So there is a good chance that if he would have closed the client here and not have spent 3 or 4 minutes riding, that he would have simply locked out. Problem of him continuing to stay in the client is that he basically always got a few bits of data package through, and he never really forcefully exited the client. So the moment that you see this here, the right call is likely healing potion, which he did not have. Oh yeah, he even has it keybound. Healing potion into Alt F4. That's what he should have done. Sucks to see you go, Gummel. Hope you go again. That's the worst kind of death, but there is still something to be learned from it. I would likely just add healing potion into Stoneclaw Totem, into then Alt F4ing, because the Stoneclaw Totem could take aggro off of him, and he then would have a higher chance of surviving. So that's really it. Thanks a lot for watching, guys. Have a good one, and see you in the next episode. Bye bye.